Howdy everybody, Michael Mass here. Welcome to this week's edition of the Disney Diner Review, your one-stop shop for everything food and foodie at Walt Disney World. This week, we are wrapping up steak month. The last 4 weeks, we went to steakhouses. We went to the Yachtsman Steakhouse, we went to Artist Point, we went to the Flying Fish, and we went to Shulers. Well, maybe not all of those are steakhouses, but they are known to serve some good to great steaks. We went to all those, tried them, and this week, we're gonna wrap steak month up with my top five favorite steaks on Walt Disney World property that I have ever consumed. So why don't you stick around, hit that subscribe button, come along as we go on this journey of steak greatness at Walt Disney World. Let's start off talking about this. Tell me something here. What is the best steak you have ever had? I might have asked this in another video, but what is the best steak you have ever had at Walt Disney World? One. And what is the best steak you've ever had, period? Like, do you go out on your own grill and make the best steak you've ever had? Because, like, I'm pretty legit when it comes to that, and so, like, I really enjoy my own steaks, but I definitely haven't cooked the best steak I've ever had. So tell me, one, what is your favorite steak or the best steak you've ever had at Walt Disney World? And two, tell me what the best steak you've ever had anywhere if you don't have the Walt Disney World experience really to go from. Well, let's get started, let's get going. We're gonna start off with an honorable mention here, and the reason it's gonna be an honorable mention is because I kind of like drew this line when it became like ridiculously pricey steaks for ridiculously not amount of food. Like a Wagyu steak at California Grill, which was a really good steak. It was awesome. It was really good. Probably four and a half, somewhere in that range. But like you get like 4 ounces for $50. It was something ridiculous like that. So I've kind of drawn the line at not really talking about the Wagyu steaks because they are definitely supposed to be a better steak all the way around when it comes to steaks. But that's going to be an honorable mention. It's over at California Grill, their Wagyu steak. And I had it in the fall winter section. I know menus change, so I'm not sure if it's always on their menu, but it definitely was in the winter of 2016, 17? 2016 that is. Now, let's get to talking about my five favorite steaks on Walt Disney World property. And the first one I'm going to start off with is over in the Magic Kingdom, and you're like, oh great, we're going to Be Our Guest. No, we're not going to Be Our Guest for a steak. Don't go there for the steak, really, don't. It's not funny. Instead, we are going to go to the Skipper Canteen, and I will tell you something about this number 5 steak. There were a bunch of steaks that could have fit into this number 5 spot because this was just good, basically. It was just a good steak. It wasn't a great steak, and surprisingly, it's a strip steak over at the Skipper Canteen. It was tasty, it was cooked right, everything about it just like was really good. The issue, and I think where this one sticks out more than any, is I compared it to the steaks at Be Our Guest, and Be Our Guest just wasn't that good. So, but this is one of those things, it probably falls right above that hanger steak I had back at Artist Point this month. Like, it is just good, not great, but it falls number 5. It was good enough to beat other steaks for that number 5 spot on the review. Now, number 4. Number 4, surprisingly, we're gonna go back to back when it comes to strip steaks. I know what you're thinking, strip steaks at 4 and 5, like, is this world gone mad? Well, this could either speak to the fact that there's not a lot of ribeyes on menus at Walt Disney World, or maybe the Flying Fish just put together a great strip steak. The strip steak over at the Flying Fish, the char crusted, it was almost perfection. It was great. It was a great steak. 4.5 on my 4.5 M's. That's a lot of M's there. So what are we talking about there? Perfectly crusted, and for some reason and somehow you can get it charred on the outside, and it's still the right shade of medium rare on the inside, medium to medium rare, depending on where they cooked it. But it was really good. And that place is known for fish, but they're rocking the steaks. So I definitely recommend going to Flying Fish and getting that charred steak for my number 4. Number three, we are going to go back in time. Little time travel for me, and this is going to be at Artist Point. And no, it's not going to be the hanger steak that we had 3 weeks ago. It is going to be the ribeye, the ribeye big enough for 2 over at Artist Point I had this back in October of 2016, and at the time and up till like 3 weeks ago, this was my favorite steak on property. Yes, you're gonna need 2 people to consume this steak, or you can basically eat it for like 3 days probably. So when it comes to a ribeye that's big enough to feed 2, maybe 3 people, right there, Artist Point, it was so good. It was the right bit of everything, cooked perfectly. I do say the seasoning over at Artist Point is a little salty at times, and this had a little bit of salt to it, but it was a good blend. It was perfect. It was so good. Definitely one of the best steaks on the property over at Artist Point, but like I said, not the hanger steak. You're gonna wanna get the ribeye for 2, so if you're by yourself, you might wanna try another restaurant because this is gonna be a lot of food for just 1 person to consume. Number 2? Are we at number 2? Number 2 for the best steaks at Walt Disney World, we are gonna head to the Yachtsman Steakhouse. Yes, the Yachtsman Steakhouse. We went there like what, 3-4 weeks ago, and wow, did they impress this time. The first time I went there several years back for my birthday, it was good, but not great. I mean, I got the big for 2, the one of those for 2 steaks. I got that big porterhouse that is part strip, part filet, and it was good, but not great. This time we had the, you know what I had? I had the ribeye. I had the ribeye at Yachtsman, and wow, it was amazing. Loved it. Everything about it was prepared perfectly. The taste, the texture, everything was so perfect. Definitely a 5-star steak at Walt Disney World. It almost doesn't get any better than this, but you know what? You know it gets better than this because this was only number 2. What do you think? What do you think? Like, if you had to pause the video right now and comment in the comments down below, what do you think the number 1 steak is? And if you cheat, well, I will never know, really. The number 1 steak at all of Walt Disney World, and we are headed back where we were last week. We are headed back to Shulers. Oh my gosh, take me back to Shulers, please. I will go there anytime you ever want. Not only was the steak amazing, but the meal and the service and everything about Shulers was truly a 5-star, 5M experience. But let's talk about that steak. This was a 22-ounce ribeye, bone-in, cooked to perfection, perfectly medium rare, that little bit of pink in the middle that made it so delicious and juicy. It was so much steak that with all the appetizers and everything else that I consumed that night, I had more for the next day, and the next day it was still perfection. I'm telling you, they almost, I know I've had better steaks than this, but not at Walt Disney World. This was easily the best steak that I've ever had at Walt Disney World. So definitely get over to Shulers, try that 22-ounce ribeye. You know what, I'm gonna say that you probably can't go wrong at Shulers. I'm gonna guess that most of the steaks at Shulers are straight on legit, straight on perfection, but I do know, and I will speak for that 22-ounce ribeye. Yum. Oh my gosh, it was so perfect. My mouth is actually watering right now talking about it. So that is my top five favorite steaks at Walt Disney World. If you've had some of these steaks, tell me, do you agree? Do you disagree? Is one of these like way over, did I overhype one, or did I undersell one? Let me know down in the comments what you think about steaks at Walt Disney World. Tell me about your favorite and everything that goes along with there. But let's go ahead and do a little review. A little review sounds good. Number five was that strip steak over at the Skipper Canteen in Magic Kingdom. Number four was the strip steak at the Flying Fish at Char Custard Strip Steak. Oh my gosh, I'm so hungry right now. I'm telling you, I'm getting hungry by making this video. Number 3 was that ribeye for 2 over at Artist Point. Yum. Number 2, that was number 3. Number 2, we head back to the Yachtsman, which is a true steakhouse at Walt Disney World, and they did not disappoint this time around with their ribeye, their version of the ribeye. Wow, so good. And last but not least, we are headed to the number one stop when it comes to steaks at Walt Disney World for me, and my favorite steak of all time at Walt Disney World, and that's Shulers and that 22-ounce ribeye that was just, dare I say, amazing, 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 really, truly amazing. The whole thing over there. Well, I hope this has been a great month for you. Steak month here on the Disney Diner Review. Steak month 2018. Maybe we'll do this again next year. I mean, what do you think? Was it good? So I hope this helps you plan the perfect vacation and you don't have to question where a good steak or a great steak is at Walt Disney World. I'm gonna get out of here. If you like this video, big thumbs up. If you loved it, smash that like button. And if this is your, well, if it's your first time, subscribe. But if you've been subscribed, make sure to hit that bell to get all the notifications that you want when it comes to your tips and your tricks and your foodie and everything about Walt Disney World that will help you plan awesome, awesome, awesome trips and not really have to sweat the small stuff. I'm gonna get out of here. And until next time, guys, thank you for your time. Here's to life.